The Appalachian Mountains have a way of looking at you, like they're alive, like they know something you don't. That's what my cousin Lena always said, but I never believed her until the winter we hiked toward Blackthorn Ridge, a place the locals warned us about with the same tone people use for abandoned wells and old mine shafts. The kind of danger that isn't physical, something older, patient, and half asleep. Lena was 27, an outdoor photographer with a reputation for going places other people avoided. I was 25 and far less adventurous, but when she told me she needed a second person for a winter photography commission and promised good pay, I reluctantly agreed. We weren't the best of friends. We were the kind of cousins who only saw each other at weddings and funerals. But I knew she was brave, resourceful, and stubborn in a way that usually got her what she wanted. We started our trip early in the morning, on a day when the mountains were wrapped in a gauzy veil of fog, and the sky seemed to hang heavier than usual. Locals at the general store were already staring. One of them, an older man with a beard the color of ash, muttered just loudly enough for us to hear. "Fog's too low today. Ridge is awake." Lena gave him a polite smile and walked on. I tried to ask him what he meant, but he shook his head like he regretted speaking at all. Our route was simple. Follow the old ranger trail, reach Blackthorn Ridge by dusk, camp for the night, and photograph sunrise over the valley. The commission specifically wanted winter shots with raw, Appalachian mood. They would have gotten far more mood than they paid for. The first hour of our hike was peaceful, quiet except for the crunch of frost beneath our boots and the occasional flutter of birds fleeing the treetops. But there was an oddness to the forest, an imbalance. No wind, no distant animal calls. Even the squirrels seemed to stay hidden. The deeper we walked, the heavier the air became, like the forest was pressing us down. The fog thickened, swallowing the trail until only a narrow strip remained visible. Lena looked around, frowning. "This fog isn't natural. Look how it stays level, like it's choosing a height."
I didn't want to think about that.
"It's just mountain weather." But the way she kept glancing over her shoulder told me she didn't believe herself. Around noon, we stopped by a collapsed cabin. Its wooden beams, gray with rot, stuck out from the snow like ribs. A rusted lantern hung from a post, swaying slightly even though there was no wind. "Let's get some shots here," Lena said, pulling out her camera. While she worked, I checked the snow around the cabin. That's when I saw something strange, long, narrow impressions leading away from the structure, almost like footprints but too thin and too close together. They looked like someone had walked dragging their feet in a straight line. "Lena," I called, "come look at this." She trudged over, peered down, and her face paled. "That's not normal." We followed the marks with our eyes. They disappeared into the fog like something had walked right into the whiteness and kept going. "Animal?" I offered. "Show me an animal with feet like that." We didn't find an answer. As we climbed higher, the forest around us seemed to grow twisted. Trees leaned in odd angles, their roots exposed like gnarled hands clawing at the frozen ground. The fog dimmed everything until even mid-afternoon felt like dusk. When we finally reached Blackthorn Ridge, the fog abruptly thinned out, and the world opened. The ridge was narrow and steep on both sides, with a panoramic view that stretched endlessly. Snow dusted the rocks, glittering in the pale light. "This is perfect," Lena whispered, raising her camera. She took picture after picture, climbing closer to the ridgeline for better angles. I stayed back uneasy. The air here felt wrong, not cold, but hollow. As if something had sucked the warmth and life out of it long ago. While she worked, I walked along the ridge, kicking at patches of frost. That's when I saw it, something carved into the rock. A symbol. 2 vertical lines with a third crossing through like a lidless eye. I reached out and brushed snow away. Dozens of the same symbol were etched into the stone, scratched with desperation. Some shallow, some deep, some overlapping each other. The sight of them twisted something in my stomach. "Lena," I called quietly. "Someone's been here recently. Or a lot of someone's." She jogged over and crouched beside me. "What the hell?" she murmured. "Is this a trail mark? A warning?"
I didn't know.
But we both realized the same thing at the same moment. The marks grew deeper the closer they got to the ridge's edge. Almost like people had crawled to the cliff, clawing at the stone. "Let's set up camp lower," I said quickly. "The ridge is too exposed." She agreed, though reluctantly. We found a flat patch of ground on a slightly lower slope, close enough for morning shots but safer than the ridge itself. That night, everything went wrong.